Hello, this is Gospels Nations Catalyst. In our last session, we're looking at servant leadership and governance. We found out that the concept of servant leadership is deeply rooted in the Gospels. All throughout the Gospels, Jesus said in Mark 10 that the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others. And as such, we are seeing this as a concept that the government or the leaders can use in building nation. And from that part, we found out that when the concept of servant leadership is adopted by leaders, it can lead to empathy. It can lead to leaders, focusing on the welfare of the people and giving that platform for equity and justice for all. And they see that they are not there for selfish aggrandizement, but they are there for the people. That will lead us into this part titled The Gospel's Influence on Historical Nation Building. Having seen that this concept of servant leadership can play a role, let's see how the Gospel has influenced other nations in building them. And we're going to look at this. We're going to be embarking on a very captivating journey through history, and we shall be exploring the deep impact of the gospel on the nation that we have built. I want to let you know that the annals of time are actually replete with instances where the teachings of the gospel, the principles that we derive from the gospel, have actually played pivotal roles in shaping the destinies of nations. So to this moment, we shall be looking at historical examples and how they provide compelling evidences, in this gospel, as a way of using the gospel to build nations, to transform nations. We're going to first look at biblical foundations of social movements. Throughout history, gospel has actually served as a bedrock from which numerous social movements, and revolutions have emanated. Looking at it from the abolition of slavery, to the civil rights movement, the principles like justice, principles like equity, principles like love have been instrumental in challenging some oppressive systems, and they effected change by those principles. So I'm going to look at a quick review of some of these, looking at the transatlantic slave trade and the civil rights movement in the United States as an example, how the gospel have led some individuals who have contributed significantly, to these transformative moments in history. Actually, leaders, that contributed were from diverse backgrounds and motivations. However, the influence of the gospel actually has served as a powerful foundation for many of those leaders to shape their moral convictions, their ethical principles, and actually the vision for the just and the equitable society. Now, let's talk about some of these characters. First, we're going to look at for the aspect of the abolition of the transatlantic slave trade. One character that played a pivotal role is William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce was a prominent figure in the abolition of the movement in the United States. Wilberforce was actually a Christian statesman for that matter, and he played a central role in the passage of the slave trade in the 1807 in the United States. Now, Wilberforce made slave trade illegal, in the British Empire. His Christian faith was deeply rooted in the Gospels. That motivated his commitment, to social justice that were inherent in the dignity of every individual on earth. Now, another person is Harriet Beecher Stowe. She was an American abolitionist and an author. Stowe wrote the influential novel titled Uncle Tom's Cabin. And she vividly portrayed the harsh realities of slavery in that particular book. Her Christian convictions, her Christian beliefs, actually that were influenced by the gospel, compelled her to use her talent for storytelling in order to advocate for the abolition of slavery. That will now lead us into the civil rights movement. Another key character in this civil rights movement was Martin Luther King Jr. He was a central figure in the American Civil Rights Movement. Dr. King was actually a Baptist minister whose commitment to non-violent activism was deeply rooted in the Christian faith. That influenced him, the teachings of the gospel influenced his teaching on love, influenced his teaching on justice, influenced his teaching on equality. So King became a leading voice for racial equality, and he was delivering iconic speeches. One of such iconic speeches we know was "I Have a Dream." Another person that played a pivotal role in this civil rights movement was Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks was often referred to as the mother of civil rights movement. Rosa Parks was a devout Christian. She played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. Although she did this by refusing to give up a bus seat to a white passenger in Montgomery in Alabama. Her act of civil disobedience was rooted in the belief in the gospel for justice. The gospel calls for justice for all. So she believed that nobody should be treated less. Because you are white should not mean that you should stand up, you should oppress others. The black have to stand up for the white to sit down. She had to bluntly refusing her seat for a white passenger because she believed that the gospel calls for justice and equality for all. Friends, I want to also let you know that the gospel played a pivotal role. It was a foundation for human dignity, because the Bible also teaches that inherent in every man is the dignity of being a human being, and this emphasized that every individual created in the image of God. So this foundational belief forced the abolitionists and civil rights leaders to be committed to challenging systems that devalued and oppressed certain groups based on race and ethnicity. Another thing that the Bible speaks about is love and compassion. I talked about it in one of the parts. I encourage you to go and watch all of that and listen to them. It also talks about love and compassion, because it serves as a driving force. If leaders have love and compassion in their heart, they will call for the love of every neighbor. They will love everyone, even in the face of injustice. The vision of everyone to be rooted in the society. When our leaders also, another thing that gospel talks about is justice and equality. The gospel also calls for justice and equality, and this resolutely strong with leaders of this movement, calling for justice and equality for everyone. These leaders, they drew on the biblical principle that advocates for laws and policies that reflect the idea that every individual should be treated with fairness and equality. And another thing again is non-violent resistance. The gospel teaches that we should not be violent in our resistance. This was exemplified in the life and the teachings of Jesus. This actually influenced Martin Luther King Jr. on his quest for civil rights movement. The commitment to non-violence was actually a moral standard that is found in the gospel, and it is cause for us to overcome hatred even with love. Friends, the gospel actually is unique, in its ability to help us act and work as a unifying force, bringing us together, though we are from diverse groups, and helps us to foster that shared purpose. Friends, historical examples like the role of the gospel in the reunification of Germany, even after the fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989, actually also demonstrates the power to heal divides and amend social fabric nation. I'm looking at now the gospel as a unifying force. Friends, there was a time when a big war divided Germany into two parts. We have the East and the West. The Berlin Wall was actually a barrier that divided the city of Berlin, into the East Berlin that was controlled by the communist government of the East Germany, and also the West Berlin that was controlled by democratic West Germany during the Cold War. Friends, the Berlin Wall was really built by the East Germany in 1961. What this was to do was to stop people from fleeing to the West, and it became a symbol of division between communist and democratic worlds. Now, the world was physical and ideological boundary, and this separated families and friends for nearly 3 decades, for nearly 30 years, until that wall fell in 1989. And this led to the reunification of the East and the West Germany. Guess what? The people that were separated, families that were separated, couldn't just easily come together. It was a challenging thing for them to come together. Guess what did the miracle? The wall that fell was a miraculous one in 1989. And that was the moment of joy that changed Germany. But what helped in the bringing the people together, in healing the wounds of division over the years, and the rebuilding of the nation, was the gospel. Friends, I want to let you know that people from many nations, including Nigeria, that are relocating to other places today. They're relocating even to Germany. If Christians can only practicalize their faith, in this country, this mass migration will not be so obvious. Though people can travel for studies, but it will not be so obvious. Germany today that people are running to at one time suffered segregation, has one time suffered, Cold War of separation. Friends, what we need in this country is to adopt the gospel teachings, the principles from the gospel. When we live it, when our leaders live the gospel teachings, we'll find this country will be better. The money that we are finding difficult to use for people will be used for the people, because love and compassion will be the root of our actions. Even you as a follower, even me as a follower, if this principle of the gospel can be what we practice, we'll see how this change will come about. So friends, this historical example that I'm trying to show us have given incredible power of love and unity, reminding us that even in difficult times, the teachings of the gospel can inspire positive change and can bring people together for a brighter future. I hope the lessons we have learned from history, even as we have gained in this short insight, in this short series we are doing, will go a long way in guiding our effort to build our nation. And it will offer us a roadmap to address the complex issues that are facing our nation, Nigeria, and by extension to the entire world. Friends, by the grace of God, in our next section, we're going to be digging into the challenges and the controversies that are surrounding this intersection of gospel and nation building. I know that some persons might not be too okay in me advocating for the gospel, for the building of it, because we are living in a pluralistic society, but I believe that these age-long principles, if applied, if they are applied to our contemporary times, it has a long way in changing our world. If you are new to this channel, please do well to subscribe, click on the notification bell, like this section, share the link to others, and the Lord will bless you and will bless me. I will have a better nation, even your own nation if you are watching from other country aside Nigeria. May God bless you till we see in our next section. Bye.